Okay, I'm really, really impressed with that. That is beautiful. That looks really good. Finally got the Dior Forever Skin Perfect Foundation Stick. So is it actually worth $50? We're about to find out. So let's start off with a quick product overview of what this foundation claims to do. So the price point of this is 52 US dollars or 70 Canadian dollars. There's 18 shades available, and it is a multi-use foundation stick. It's supposed to give you a natural blurred finish with 24 hours of wear and hydration. And it's supposed to even out the skin, cover imperfections, and reveal a flawless complexion. It's interesting, they call this a true skincare in a stick, which I would never really think of when talking about a stick foundation, but they say it lets the skin breathe and provides continuous hydration. The formula is actually skincare infused, so it's supposed to give you an instantly fresher looking face and continuous hydration, which makes me really curious to see how this feels on the skin. Something else that's really interesting about this foundation is it's supposed to reduce the appearance of pores and conceal imperfections. Apparently it has this blurring filter effect for visibly smooth skin. That sounds really cool to me. It doesn't sound like a typical stick foundation in my opinion, so I have high hopes for this. Lastly, I just want to mention it has a soft matte finish or a natural finish, and it's heat and humidity resistant. Okay, I like everything that I just heard, so let's try it on and see if it's true. My experience with foundation sticks is they do not play well with a sticky primer, which is what I typically like to use, so I'm actually not going to apply a primer to my face before trying this out. I got my foundation stick in shade 2CR, which is Cool Rosy. It is for a light skin tone with cool pink undertones. All right, starting off, I want to take a look at the packaging. I like the way this looks. I think it looks very high-end, very luxurious feeling, which is what I would expect from a Dior product. I would say it has a more expensive feel than, say, compared to the Dior Backstage, which is in a plastic bottle. This one definitely feels more high-end. All right, let's see what the stick looks like. Ooh. Okay, so you just click it up. It has a nice oval shape and the shade looks good. I'm curious to see how it matches my skin. All right, let's go for it. First swipe, best swipe. Oh, that is creamy. Very creamy. Color looks really good. I'm just gonna do one swipe for now. A little on the chin and a little on the forehead. It has that classic Dior smell to it, so it does have a light fragrance. I don't mind it. I don't necessarily think it needs a fragrance. I am kind of surprised it has a scent to it. It smells exactly like the Dior Backstage Foundation. It's pretty fresh smelling. It kind of smells floral to me, but I don't mind it. If you don't like scent, that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to blend it out using my Hourglass brush. So let's just see how it blends into the skin. The shade looks perfect, and look at it, it's blending in very seamlessly. One thing that's always stopped me from using stick foundations is I always think they're gonna feel really thick and heavy on the skin because of the formula, but this doesn't. It definitely feels like skincare, and I cannot feel it on my skin, which is really amazing. I love how effortlessly that blended into my skin. I'm actually quite impressed by that. Okay, so there's half my face with a very minimal amount of foundation. It blends like butter, baby. It's beautiful. I love the shade match. You can't even tell that I'm wearing foundation. I would say for coverage, very lightweight. I wouldn't even call it medium, but I love the coverage. If you just want something lightweight, I do feel like it covered up some of my redness, covered up imperfections, but my real skin's still shining through. If you compare it to the side where I'm not wearing any foundation, you can really see my redness here, even my forehead. This really does give you that beautiful, your skin but better look. I want to apply a little bit more because it's supposed to be buildable, and I want to see how does it look as I put more product on my skin. So let's just do a little bit more here, here, and a little bit more here. I would agree the finish is definitely more of a soft matte finish. I am someone who has drier skin, so I typically wouldn't want a matte finish, but I would say so far, I don't feel like it's emphasizing any of my dry patches. I would say it's laying very beautifully on my skin. Okay, here's my skin with a second application of the foundation. I would say it did build up to more of a medium coverage now. It looks Still very, very natural. I can still see a little bit of my redness on this cheek peeking through. Overall, I don't think you can tell that I'm wearing more foundation on my face. It still feels very lightweight. It doesn't feel thick. And I like that it's not emphasizing any of the dry patches on my face. It looks very, very natural, very skin-like. So, so comfortable on the skin. It's interesting when you first swipe the foundation, it feels very creamy, like it might be very thick, but it is so lightweight and silky on the skin. I cannot tell which side of my face has foundation on it. It feels very comfortable. I like using a stick foundation like this when I just want very minimal coverage, just that your skin but better look that doesn't look like I'm wearing makeup. I don't want to put on any other eye makeup, maybe a lip tint. That's about it. I just want a little something. I think this will be perfect for that. I don't see myself wearing it this full coverage, but that's not to say if you want a full coverage look, you can definitely build this up to full coverage. I think it looks beautiful. Okay, let's go in and finish off the rest of my face with the foundation. So far, I'm pretty impressed that it hasn't settled into any of my fine lines or dry patches. I think another indicator will be how it wears throughout the day. It is supposed to look better throughout the day because it has skincare in it, but that we'll have to wait and see. It also says that you can apply this with your finger or you can use a sponge. Personally, for a stick foundation, I do prefer a blush. I do prefer a brush. I think it's just so effortless. And I'm not a big fan of applying products with my fingers. Okay, that's the first application. Wow, it actually looks so pretty. Just do a little bit more to balance out the sides. This is actually a really good shade match. I find it's so hard to match yourself online. So let's see how this looks on my chin after, because I always get dry patches on my chin. So I'm really curious to see how that looks. One thing to know, I didn't use a primer, which I normally would. I just would not recommend using one of the gripping primers when you're using a stick foundation. I made the mistake of using a gripping primer underneath the Vanish Stick Concealer. And when I tell you I did the first stroke, I went to blend it in and it literally didn't move. Like I could not blend in that swipe of foundation. So I learned that the hard way. You cannot use a gripping foundation with a stick, or you just can't apply it directly to the skin if you are. But for me, I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, I think that looks pretty even. Overall, really impressed. Love, love, love the way it feels on my skin. I would say for not using a primer or any hydrating skin prep before I applied this, my skin looks really good. The areas that I normally have dry patches, I say look really nice. You can see slightly on my chin a little bit, but I honestly think if I had prepped my skin a little bit better, that wouldn't be showing. Overall, I'm very happy with how this looks for a matte formula. This looks really pretty, very natural, and overall just very, very comfortable on the skin. The more I look at this in different lighting, the more I actually am really in love with it. I think it looks so pretty. My skin just looks healthy and I love that look. I want to see how this wears with a little bit of powder as well as setting spray. So I'm going to do a little bit of concealer under my eyes. So I'm going to use the Hourglass Vanish Concealer in the shade Silk. This is one of my favorite concealers. Just gonna do a little bit here. Because this is a matte formula, I don't feel like we're gonna need a lot of powder, but I do wanna see how the powder lays on top of it as well as the concealer. Okay, this looks really nice. I like the way the concealer is laying on top of this foundation. And I'm gonna set the under eyes with the Huda Beauty setting powder in the shade Sugar Cookie. This will really show us how the powder sits on top of this formula. And let's see. Okay, that looks really good. Not gonna lie, I love the way that looks. Do a little on my chin. Wow, that looks really, really good. I think I'm just gonna set this half of my face with the powder puff so we can see how it looks with powder. I would normally never do this because my skin is dry and powder is not your best friend when you have dry skin. I'm actually shocked how good that looks because I thought for sure the powder was gonna emphasize that dry skin. Even on my chin where I normally get it, it looks amazing. Okay, I'm really, really impressed with that. That is beautiful. That looks really good. Here we are side by side, not set and then set. Love, love, love. That looks so pretty. Just for comparison's sakes, I'm going to use a fluffy brush. This is the Morphe M161 powder brush. And I just want to do it lightly on the other side just so we can compare. Typically, this is how I would set my face if I was wearing a matte foundation. I just want a very, very light layer on my brush and then just tap it. If you have dry skin, this is like the best way to set your foundation without it really showing those dry patches. It looks the same to me, both sides, so I don't even feel like it was any different. Yeah, I think you can tell that this side is a little bit more covered, but it doesn't look like a marine powder. I would say they both look very nice. Again, if I wanted more fuller coverage, I think I would use the powder puff like this side, but if I want something lighter, just more set, but not really coverage, I would go with the fluffy brush and the powder. I think it just looks a little bit more natural. Okay, then lastly, I want to set it with a setting spray to see how it looks. Because it's very matte and we're using powder, I want to use more of a hydrating setting spray. So I'm going to use the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Refresh Spray. Although I do think my skin looks very good, I want to bring a little bit of moisture back to my skin. So this will be really good for that. And I'm going to dose it pretty good. Just dry it. Okay, actually, this is really interesting. I don't know if you can tell, but it actually looks like it's water resistant. You know how I mentioned that it was heat and humidity resistant? It kind of looks like the water is like sitting on top of my skin. That's really interesting. I've never actually noticed a foundation be water resistant before. Okay, so here's how it looks with the setting spray. I think it looks even better. Again, I like more of a glowy, dewy look. So I think this did bring a little bit of glow back to my skin. It also just really made it look a little bit more hydrated. I think it looked beautiful before, but I also love the way this looks as well. Either way, personal preference on if you want it with setting spray or without. I think they both look good, but I do think I like this a little bit better, especially as a dry skin girly. Okay, I want to do a quick summary of the pros and cons of this foundation. Overall product itself, love. Absolutely love. I am not typically a stick foundation girl, but the formula of this was beautiful. I love how creamy it was and the way it blended into my skin so effortlessly, incredible. The other thing I want to mention is how lightweight this felt on the skin. When normally I would not associate that with a stick foundation, it really feels like nothing's on your skin. So I love that about this. But overall, I like how well this builds for a stick foundation. I like the final product. It's just very pretty on the skin. I do see myself using this and I would definitely repurchase this. I think it is probably one of the best stick foundations that I've ever used. So it's definitely meeting my expectations in terms of a stick foundation. I just want to point out a couple things. It is a little bit pricier. It's a Dior product. It's more of a luxury product. In comparison to, say, the Vanish stick foundation, I actually think you get better value with the Dior one. I also do love the Vanish, the Hourglass Vanish stick foundation, but if you want to talk price point, I think they're very similar in price, but you get a little bit more with the Dior. The only other things which I mentioned a little bit was if you have dry skin, building this up to a fuller coverage foundation, it probably wouldn't be my first choice, but otherwise I think it would look beautiful on most people. I don't think you would be disappointed in it. I'm really excited to keep wearing this and see how it wears throughout the day, but I'm definitely excited to use this again. I love it. Let me know what do you think of this product, and if you have a favorite foundation, I'd love to know what it is in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.